10 forgotten vegetables they ate in the Stone Age. Picture you're walking through a modern grocery store surrounded by endless rows of colorful vegetables. Bright red tomatoes, crisp lettuce, and perfect carrots lined up like soldiers. But here's something that might blow your mind. None of these vegetables would have been recognizable to our Stone Age ancestors. The people who lived tens of thousands of years ago, before farming was even invented, had to find their food in the wild. And believe it or not, they discovered some incredible vegetables that we've completely forgotten about today. These weren't just random plants they stumbled upon. Our ancestors were like botanical detectives, carefully studying every plant, testing what was safe to eat, and learning which ones could keep them alive through harsh winters and long journeys. They developed an incredible knowledge of nature that took generations to perfect. Today, we're going to explore 10 amazing vegetables that sustained entire civilizations, yet most of us have never even heard of them. Let's start our journey in the wetlands, where one of the most important Stone Age vegetables grew tall and proud. Cattails. These might look like nothing more than decorative pond plants to us, but beneath the surface, they were hiding a treasure. The thick, starchy roots of cattails were like underground gold mines for our ancestors. These rhizomes were packed with carbohydrates, vitamin C, and essential minerals like potassium that kept their muscles and nerves working properly. Stone Age people didn't just stumble upon this discovery. They learned through careful observation that these roots could be eaten raw for a quick energy boost, roasted over fires for a sweeter flavor, or even ground into a primitive flour to make flatbreads. What made cattails so special was the reliability. While hunting could be unpredictable and berries were seasonal, cattails grew wherever there was water. They were like the first convenience stores of the ancient world, always there when you needed them most. Moving from the wetlands to the streams, our ancestors discovered another green treasure that would make modern health enthusiasts jealous. Watercress grew in fast-flowing streams and springheads, its bright green leaves carrying a sharp, peppery bite that hinted at something special inside. This wasn't just about taste. That zing came from incredibly high levels of vitamin C and calcium. In an age without citrus fruits or dairy products, watercress was nature's multivitamin. Stone Age foragers would wade into knee-deep water or hang from low branches to gather clusters of these nutritious leaves. They were fighting a constant battle against scurvy and bone diseases, and watercress was their secret weapon. The clever part was how they preserved it, rolling handfuls of stems in clay or large leaves, creating the world's first salad to go. When hunters returned with fatty meat from their kills, watercress provided the perfect sharp contrast, balancing their diet in ways we're only now beginning to understand. As we venture deeper into the forest, we encounter something that would make any modern chef excited. Wild leeks, or ramps as they're sometimes called, were the Stone Age equivalent of finding a gourmet ingredient. These weren't the mild onions we know today. They were pungent, powerful relatives of garlic and chives that grew in shady woods. Spring was the magic time when these plants emerged, offering their entire bounty. White bulbs, green stalks, and broad leaves, all packed with vitamins A and C. But ramps offered more than just nutrition. They contained sulfur compounds with natural antibiotic properties, making them medicine and food rolled into one. Stone Age people gathered them in large numbers, roasting them over fires or pounding them into paste to flavor their stews and root mash. The strong aroma served a double purpose. It drove away insects and masked the scent of cooking meat from predators. It was like having a natural spice cabinet and pest control system all in one plant. Speaking of plants that served multiple purposes, let's talk about one that literally fought back. Stinging nettles were the ultimate test of Stone Age knowledge and skill. These plants were covered in tiny hairs that delivered a painful sting when touched, but our ancestors learned that this defensive mechanism disappeared completely when the nettles were boiled or dried. What emerged was a green leafy vegetable that rivaled modern spinach in iron content and actually contained more protein than most plants. The genius of nettles went beyond their nutritional value. They thrived in nitrogen-rich soils near old campsites and animal resting spots, areas where the tree canopy had been cleared. This meant that Stone Age people could literally plant the seeds of their future meals just by living in an area. The nettles would return year after year, creating renewable food patches. And when they weren't eating them, they were using nettle poultices to soothe joint pain and brewing teas to ease urinary problems. One prickly plant provided food, medicine, and a guaranteed future harvest. As winter gave way to spring, Stone Age families would eagerly search the forest floors for tiny green spirals pushing through the damp earth. These were fiddlehead ferns, and they represented hope itself, the first sign that life was returning flourishing after the harsh winter months. These tightly coiled fronds had to be harvested at just the right moment before they unfurled into full ferns, and they required careful cooking to remove mild toxins. The effort was worth it. Fiddleheads delivered magnesium, vitamin A, and antioxidants that help repair the damage of winter's limited diet. Stone Age families would gather around shallow pits lined with hot stones, steaming the fiddleheads until tender and combining them with fish or small game. These weren't just meals, they were celebrations of survival, community feasts that marked the end of the hardest season and the beginning of abundance. Digging deeper into the earth, literally, we find burdock root, a plant that required serious commitment to harvest. The long, slender taproots grew deep in heavy clay soils, and extracting them required sharpened sticks or antler picks, but the effort paid off in multiple ways. The white, crisp interior tasted mildly sweet when eaten raw and developed rich, complex flavors when roasted. More importantly, burdock was packed with inulin, a prebiotic fiber that nourished gut bacteria in ways that modern science is only beginning to appreciate. Stone Age people didn't understand science, but they understood the results. Burdock kept their digestive systems healthy and their energy levels stable. Beyond eating, they used burdock leaves and seeds as herbal remedies, poultices for inflammation, and teas for detoxification. For our ancestors, the line between kitchen and pharmacy was often blurred, and burdock perfectly embodied this dual purpose. Not every Stone Age vegetable required major expeditions to harvest. Sometimes the best food was literally growing under their feet. Chickweed, which most of us consider a garden weed today, was a nutritional powerhouse that flourished in the disturbed soils around human settlement. After fires or floods cleared the land, chickweed would be among the first plants to colonize the open spaces, creating natural gardens wherever humans lived. The tiny leaves and delicate stems were surprisingly rich in vitamin C and A, making chickweed a valuable addition to soups and salads. Stone Age gatherers would pluck handfuls, chewing them fresh or mixing them with ground nut pastes for extra nutrition. The mild flavor made chickweed perfect as a filler, stretching precious game meat into more balanced meals. It was nature's way of ensuring that even the most humble plants could contribute to survival. For those Stone Age people lucky enough to live near the ocean, the rocky coastlines offered their own special treasures. Sea kale grew in harsh conditions that would kill most plants, salt-sprayed cliffs, and wind-swept shores, but it thrived where others failed. The thick, waxy leaves were rich in vitamins K, C, and B complexes, essential nutrients that helped counteract the heavy salt intake from preserved fish and shellfish. What makes sea kale particularly interesting is that it represents one of humanity's first attempts at what we might call cultivation. Stone Age coastal dwellers learned to transplant sea kale closer to their camps, taking advantage of inland winds to create more convenient growing spots. They could chew the crisp shoots raw or roast them in ash to peel off the fibrous skin. This wasn't just foraging anymore, it was the beginning of agriculture. Venturing into the water itself, Stone Age people discovered vegetables that required real skill and courage to harvest. Water chestnuts grew in marshes and slow rivers, their nutrient-dense nuts hidden underwater in spiky shells or as subtle tubers in the mud. Harvesting them meant diving or wading into murky water, using woven baskets to corral the underwater treasures, then beating the mud away on riverbanks. These underwater vegetables were worth the effort. Each bite delivered plant protein, starch, and minerals like manganese that were hard to find elsewhere. Some tribes developed sophisticated techniques for preserving water chestnuts, smoking them to create portable rations for long journeys or cold nights when fires couldn't stay lit. In an age without pottery, smoking was crucial technology, and water chestnuts were perfect candidates for this preservation method. Our final forgotten vegetable takes us to late autumn, when most other plants were dying back for winter. Salsify, also known as goat's beard, grew tall with purple flowers, but its real treasure was hidden underground. The long roots had a unique flavor that ancient people described as reminiscent of the sea. Some called it the vegetable oyster for its faint seafood-like taste. Stone Age people would scrape and roast salsify in embers, drawing out sweet, savory flavors that complemented dried meats perfectly. Rich in inulin and carbohydrates, these roots helped maintain energy stores before winter hunts. Archaeological evidence suggests that some groups even stored salsify in shallow pits layered with straw, an early form of root cellar that proves our ancestors were thinking far ahead, planning for the lean times that they knew were coming. As we look back at these 10 forgotten vegetables, we see something remarkable. Our ancestors weren't just surviving, they were thriving on a diverse, nutritious diet that put many modern meals to shame. They understood nutrition in ways we're only rediscovering, knew how to preserve food without chemicals, and lived in harmony with their environment. These weren't primitive people stumbling through the wilderness. They were sophisticated botanists, nutritionists, and food scientists who built the foundation for everything we know about eating today. The next time you walk through a modern grocery store, remember that the vegetables filling those shelves represent just a tiny fraction of what the earth has to offer. Somewhere out there in wetlands and streams, forests and coastlines, these forgotten vegetables are still growing, still waiting to be rediscovered by anyone curious enough to look beyond the produce aisle and into the incredible story of human survival. Want to discover more about what our ancestors lived and what they did? From hunting techniques to survival strategies, there's so much more to explore about how our ancestors survived and thrived. Subscribe to the Stone Age channel for more fascinating stories from the Stone Age.